Doc Holliday. The name itself conjures up images of the Wild West. Gunslingers, dusty saloons, poker tables, and shootouts. He was more than just a gambler and a gunslinger. He was a man with a complicated past, a talented dentist, and a friend to legends like Wyatt Earp. Today we delve into the life of Doc Holliday, a man who defied convention and left an indelible mark on the American frontier. I found him a loyal friend and good company. He was a dentist whom necessity had made a gambler, a gentleman whom disease had made a vagabond, a philosopher whom life had made a caustic wit, a long, lean, blonde fellow nearly dead with consumption, and at the same time the most skillful gambler and nerviest, speediest, deadliest man with a six-gun I ever knew. Born John Henry Holliday on August 14, 1851, in Griffin, Georgia, Doc Holliday grew up in the post-Civil War South. His family was relatively well-to-do, with his father, Henry Holliday, being a distinguished veteran of the Mexican-American War and later the Civil War. John was brought up in a society trying to rebuild itself after a devastating war. His mother, Alice Jane Holliday, was a woman of grace and education. She had a profound influence on young John. It was through her that he developed a love for learning, and she ensured he was well educated. But tragedy would soon strike the Holliday household. When John was just 15, his mother passed away from tuberculosis, a loss that devastated him. Tuberculosis would later play a fateful role in his life, shaping not just his health, but the trajectory of his entire existence. Following his mother's death, John left Georgia to pursue a career that many might not associate with the Wild West, a dentist. He attended the prestigious Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery in Philadelphia, graduating in 1872 at the age of 21. Doc Holliday was now a fully licensed dentist. Holliday started his dental practice in Atlanta, Georgia, but his career didn't last long in the South. Not long after his professional career began, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis, the same disease that took his mother's life. Back then, there was no cure, and the prognosis for someone with TB was bleak. Doctors advised him to move to a drier climate, believing that the dry air of the West might alleviate his symptoms and prolong his life. He heeded the advice, packed his bags, and headed west, beginning a new chapter in his life, one that took him far from the quiet life of a dentist and into the unpredictable and often violent world of the American frontier. Holliday's career as a dentist slowly took a back seat as he turned to gambling to support himself. The Wild West was full of poker games, saloons, and the chance to make quick money, something that appealed to Holliday given his declining health and inability to sustain long hours working as a dentist. Doc soon earned a reputation as a skilled gambler. However, gambling came with its dangers. Disputes over poker games often led to heated confrontations, and in the Wild West, arguments were settled with guns, not words. Holliday's skill with a pistol soon became as well known as his talent for cards. One of his first notorious incidents occurred in Dallas in 1875, where he was arrested for participating in a shooting. Over time, Holliday found himself in more than one altercation, often linked to gambling disagreements. In the rough towns of the West, violence was common, and Holliday was no stranger to pulling his gun to defend himself. Though not a cold-blooded killer by nature, Holliday was driven to violence in the heat of these situations. As his notoriety grew, so did the number of arrests, most of them for gambling or gunfights. But Holliday was more than a mere outlaw. He lived by a personal code of honor, defending his friends and standing up for himself in an often lawless land. Doc Holliday's life wasn't all about cards, guns, and danger. He also had a softer side, particularly when it came to a woman named Mary Catherine Haroni, better known as Big Nose Kate. Kate was born in Hungary in 1850 and immigrated to the United States as a child. Orphaned at a young age, she led a rough life, working as a prostitute and later becoming a frontier woman. It was in Texas where she crossed paths with Doc Holliday, and the two struck up a passionate and tumultuous relationship. Kate was tough, independent, and knew how to handle herself in the wild world of the West. It's said that she was the only woman who ever truly captured Holliday's heart. Their relationship was anything but stable. They often fought and separated, but Kate remained a significant figure in Doc's life. She was with him through many of his toughest moments and even helped save his life on more than one occasion. One such instance was in Fort Griffin, Texas, where Holliday was arrested for murder. Kate managed to set fire to a nearby building, causing enough of a distraction to allow Doc to escape from custody. Although their relationship was marked by its share of turmoil, the bond between Holliday and Big Nose Kate endured through the ups and downs of frontier life. While Kate might have been Holliday's closest personal relationship, his friendships were equally important in defining his legacy, none more so than his friendship with the legendary lawman Wyatt Earp. Doc and Wyatt met in Fort Griffin, Texas in the late 1870s and quickly became close allies. Their bond was born out of mutual respect and trust, with Doc often standing by Wyatt during dangerous moments, and vice versa. Though Holliday was a gambler and a man of questionable reputation, Earp saw in him a loyal and courageous friend. Doc's loyalty to Earp was unwavering, and their partnership would prove crucial in some of the most infamous moments of the Old West. Despite their differences in profession and demeanor, the two men shared a sense of justice and a code of honor that united them in their efforts to tame the lawlessness of the frontier. In addition to his friendship with Wyatt, Doc formed alliances with other key figures of the West, including Morgan and Virgil Earp, as well as Bat Masterson. These friendships cemented his place in the annals of history and paved the way for the events that would unfold in Tombstone. Holliday's most famous chapter in life unfolded in Tombstone, Arizona. In 1880, he joined Wyatt Earp and his brothers in this booming silver town. Tombstone was a magnet for lawlessness, attracting outlaws, cattle rustlers, and a host of characters looking to make their fortune. While in Tombstone, Holliday's reputation as a gambler and gunslinger grew, but it was his involvement in the infamous gunfight at the OK Corral that truly solidified his legacy. On October 26, 1881, Holliday stood alongside Wyatt Earp, Virgil Earp, and Morgan Earp in a 30-second gunfight that would go down in history. The shootout was the culmination of a long-standing feud between the Earps and a group of outlaws known as the Cowboys, led by Ike Clanton. Tensions between the two groups had been simmering for months, and when the confrontation finally erupted, it was Holliday who played a pivotal role in the fight. Armed with a shotgun, Doc stood ready at Wyatt's side, and when the shooting started, he was quick to take action. By the time the dust settled, 3 cowboys were dead, and Holliday had secured his place as one of the most feared gunmen in the West. After the gunfight, Holliday's life in Tombstone became increasingly difficult. He was implicated in several more shootings, and his health continued to deteriorate as tuberculosis ravaged his body. Yet, despite his declining condition, Holliday remained a key figure in the town's law enforcement, often working alongside the Earps to keep order. Eventually, Tombstone became too dangerous for Holliday and the Earps. After the assassination of Morgan Earp in 1882, Holliday left town and spent his remaining years wandering from place to place, seeking relief from his illness in the dry climates of Colorado and other western states. As Doc Holliday's health worsened, he retreated to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, hoping that the therapeutic hot springs might offer some relief from the effects of tuberculosis. But the disease had progressed too far, and by November 1887, it was clear that Holliday's time was coming to an end. On November 8, 1887, at the age of 36, Doc Holliday died in a small room at the Hotel Glenwood. His final words, spoken to the nurse at his bedside, were said to be, "This is funny," as he found it ironic that, despite living a life filled with danger, he had died peacefully in bed. Doc Holliday was laid to rest in Glenwood Springs Cemetery, far from the action-packed towns and saloons where he made his name. His legacy, however, lives on, not just as a gunslinger and gambler, but as a complex man, a dentist without a license, a loyal friend, and a figure of the American frontier whose story has become inseparable from the myth of the Wild West. Doc Holliday's legacy is far from buried. High up in the hills of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, his grave stands as a quiet reminder of the man who lived life with ferocity, unafraid of the dangers that loomed around every corner. Though time has weathered the stone that marks his final resting place, visitors still flock to the site, paying tribute to one of the most enigmatic figures of the Old West. But it's not just in the peaceful cemetery where Doc's presence lingers. In Tombstone, Arizona, the heart of his legend, a towering bronze statue commemorates the man who stood fearless at the OK Corral. It was here, in the heat of a blazing October afternoon, that Doc fought shoulder to shoulder with his closest friend, Wyatt Earp, in a shootout that has been immortalized in American folklore. With a shotgun in hand, his sharp eyes fixed on the infamous Clanton gang, Holliday wasn't just fighting for his life. He was etching his name into the annals of history. The statue stands as more than just a tribute. It's a symbol of the fire and grit that defined him, an everlasting reminder of the day that turned him into a legend. But Holliday's story didn't end with that famous 30-second gunfight. He defied the odds, living with a terminal illness while navigating a world that demanded toughness and resilience. He wasn't just a gunslinger or a gambler, he was a man of paradoxes. Born into Southern gentility, educated as a dentist, yet feared across the frontier for his quick draw and deadly precision. His loyalty to Wyatt Earp wasn't just a bond of friendship, but a code of honor, something that bound him to the lawman in a world where trust was scarce. The myth of Doc Holliday has only grown over time, transforming into something larger than life. Movies, novels, and endless stories have attempted to capture the essence of the man who walked the line between law and lawlessness. Yet there's an unshakable truth about Holliday that sets him apart from other Wild West figures: his awareness of his own mortality. He lived with the shadow of death hanging over him, and that knowledge fueled his fearless approach to life. It made him bold, reckless, and above all, unforgettable.